Welcome to our channel. This channel deals with the fire journey of a family. Our net worth goal is $5 million US, and we hope to get there in about 1.5 years. So this month has been troublesome in the markets. Some going up, some going down, which brings our net worth loss to $600. This is our tracking overall, uh, up and to the right the way we like it. We crossed the 4 million mark a while ago, and luckily we have not regressed beyond that point. So this is the breakdown. So taxable amount accounts have remained steady. House has decreased over the past few months. Real estate is taking a downturn. Retirement accounts, the market has been very turbulent, so this is down. Taxable accounts have some individual stocks. Retirements have mostly S&P 500s ETFs. So that explains like the difference, which brings our total to a little shy from last month, 4.23 millions. So this is the expense breakdown this month. As you can see, it's quite a bit different than our normal sort of breakdown. The kids hardly even show up on this, less than 7% of our budget. So let's move over to the drill down to see what's going on there. So the top three is travel, which is kind of weird this time of year. This is some Christmas vacations we have booked, but this is sort of an unexpected trip for us to celebrate a milestone birthday for a family member. So this is very last minute, so it's very expensive sort of plane tickets, and this is why it's this time of year. Um, it's a little weird. Not sure about how to like budget towards sort of like I won't call it emergency travel, but sort of last minute travel or last minute plan change due to circumstances. I think in retirement I'll treat this sort of like out of the emergency fund for that we have about like 5K a year set up for that. Sort of like that's meant for car breakdowns or emergency roof repairs or things of that nature, but probably under that or the general travel budget. But this time of year, our travel budget is already depleted, so we'll see. But yeah, plan for the unplannable, right? Food, it's inflation, to be honest with you. It's getting pretty expensive and pretty constant. Usually it's highs behind childcare, but not this month. Um, it's high. It's relatively high. I think 15% over year growth, and we're not eating any differently. We tried a few different things. None of them really stuck. So we're back to sort of our own version of healthy food. Yeah. And home, the reason why it's so high, a couple of repairs needed to happen, and trays people are very expensive. And this is stuff outside of a comfort zone. So, hardcore plumbing issues that are just like, you don't want to mess those up because leaky underfloor is a bitch to fix in later time. And property taxes. So we pay property taxes 2 times a year. This is one of them. Quite high, not as high as Chicago, but still relatively high, sort of like property taxes. And these are the rest of the expenses. So I'll highlight a few different things. So health, this is not normal health, this is dental and vision. Insurance doesn't really help with that too much. But it is what it is. You get older, you need extra pair of glasses, and your teeth require more maintenance. Utilities is standard. Restaurant, bit of eating out, a bit of fast food, nothing too extravagant. Same with shopping. Entertainment are for a few tickets we purchased. Transportation is just fuel. I will double click into insurance because this is about $80 cheaper than last month. The reason why we had to change plans or adjust our current plans, I should say, just because year over year they wanted to increase our rate significantly. Last year we were paying 340. This year, as you can see, it's still 490, and this is after negotiation and changing plans. It was supposed to be 580, if I remember correctly. So it will become more and more expensive. It does make us sort of want to like, well, should we have multiple cars? Should we live in such a high cost of living area where the insurance is such high? things of that nature, especially as we near retirement and we're starting to like, where should we live? Should we stay where we are? Should we move to someplace a little more comfortable weather-wise or tax-wise or etc.-wise? Which brought our total expenses to 15K, which is quite high this time of year. Usually winter is less travel, but we had that emergent or unplanned trip. Otherwise, yeah, something. It's curious to see by the end of December what our yearly expenses were. So a little bit about us. We are two working parents. Most of our income is from W-2. We have three kids, ages from 7 to 11, and we live in a high cost of living area. We own our own house at this point. We are debt free.
Travel budget plan in retirement is 30K. So we started collecting data about our various vacations, and the rest of the video is various vacations and their breakdown of cost.
So this is a different kind of vacation we were trying for preparing for slow travel and things of that nature. So this is a month-long trip in Southeast Asia with some very cheap countries like Vietnam and some very expensive countries like Japan. So you'll see sort of like different mismatch of things together. So flights, it's expensive to get there, but internal flights were very cheap. Food, since part of the trip was in cheap countries, some of it was inexpensive. In the cheap countries, we ate out mostly, and in the more expensive countries, we I would not say cooked, but more like ate supermarket type food. Stays, it's a combination of Airbnb and hotels. Again, like the expensive places were $300 a night in high cost of living countries, and in cheap countries, it was $100 a night. For what I would say comfortable accommodations, not the highest end, but uh, a lot more than we're used to over here. Entertainment, yeah, you travel for a month, you do sort of like excursions and things of that nature. And in the cheap countries, it was $100 a day for our family, but in the more expensive countries, yeah, it does get expensive. Especially, we did Disney Japan, which, yeah, Disney is always expensive shopping. We bought a few things, nothing extravagant, mostly knickknacks and things of that nature. But in expensive countries, like I mentioned, it does get expensive. Cheap countries, not so much. Transportations, mostly Ubers. We did not rent cars. We're not comfortable in driving that part of the world. So this was Ubers, Lyfts, things of that nature. So that brings our total vacation for a month to 18,000. Um, it is expensive, but about like 8,000 of this is just the flights to get there. So that aligns with our sort of slow travel goals post fire, where we can hang out in a geolocation for a bit longer. Um, yeah, super cheap. That part of the world, relatively speaking. So if we extrapolate this to like a 2 months summer vacation type thing, well below our 30K expected budget. So yeah. So this was a different type of vacation. We drove to Alaska for the most part. Several kids joined midway and left midway. Um, but this was a long vacation. Food, we cooked out, we camped for some of it. Restaurants, not that expensive, not that a much restaurant amount of restaurants. Um, I mean, Alaska is pretty rural for the most part, so yeah, the restaurants are just not that abundant. And doing the drive up there via Canada, it's just fast food restaurants along the way, nothing too fancy. Stays were more expensive than we expected. But this is to do with us opting to sleep in hotels more versus our original estimate of camping. This was to do with the midnight sun and the heat from it, as well as the sun, which caused sleeping outdoors more challenging than we expected. And even the hotels didn't have blackout curtains and things of that nature, but they're not that expensive. Like the cheapest one was $100, and the most expensive one was $250, and they ran the gamut to the lower range. Entertainment, we did a few excursions. The bigger one was a glacier landing, that about 1800 from this amount, and the rest were smaller type excursions. Shopping, we didn't do a lot of. We enjoyed the outdoors, so we spent more times there than in shopping areas. Transportation, this is for fuel mainly, since we use our own car. So as you can see, it's like driving up there and driving back down, and traveling there, not that expensive. Like fuel in Alaska is actually cheaper than several states we passed, which was a big surprise. Some rural parts of Alaska and Canada did have more expensive fuel, but we spent $20-$30 extra for those sorts of things. And this brings the total over about 4 weeks of vacation to $10,000, which is $65 per person per day, which is like one of the cheapest vacations we had. Most of it to do with several nights camping and using our own car, which, yeah, I'm surprised for us, and it makes Alaska a appealing destination because of the nature and the rural aspect of it. So this is our Hawaii vacation breakdown. Flights were about $4,000, food 600, restaurants 660. Um, we didn't eat a lot outside for some of it. Stays are the most expensive part, A, because we stayed at luxury um, resorts and paid the price for it. Happy to. Entertainment was, again, excursions, luau, things of that nature. Shopping, not that much. Not because we didn't want to buy anything. It's just like we enjoyed being outside and doing things often, and we just skipped a lot of shopping. Transportation is mostly rental cars for the different islands we were on. Um, Not too expensive, comparative speaking. We did have a car, I think, about 90% of the days. Yeah, just not as expensive as you expected. I mean, this is post COVID, so prices have come back down.
So the vacation, $12,000, which breaks down to the five of us of $170 per day per person. Vacation just the adults took to Japan. So this is just for the two of us. Flights were relatively expensive. The stays was mostly hotels throughout the time, which is a bit surprising considering the lower cost of Japan compared to what we budgeted and planned. It was relatively super cheap to compare to even a Motel 6 in the US, a high-end hotel over there. Vacation was about 6,500, which is about $160 per person per day. This was about a 2.5, 3 weeks vacation. It was partially traveling and partly just working. Vacation we took for the five of us. This did not include RVs or anything to that extent. This was hotels and driving around in a rental car. It is comparatively more expensive than we imagined with this sort of like road trip type vacation, which is a little surprising compared to the rest, but good data to have. Vacation to 8,200, which comes up to about $100 per person per day. The vacation we took with an RV, so that's why you see flights here are zero because we took an RV and traveled throughout. That's why you see transportation is very expensive. It was mostly that sort of like rental of the vehicle and stays. So the stays you see here is basically campground fees. Various campgrounds. Sometimes we dry dock. Sometimes we offer the kids. Went to an RV that campground that had more facilities like a pool, etc. That vacation to about $4,000, which is comes out to about $100 per person per day. Vacation we took in New York City, Manhattan. We stayed in a downtown, very nice hotel. Um, it was like I think a 3 or 4 day weekend sort of thing. So pretty expensive for like a quick, large, long weekend, but it is something we occasionally do expect to do. So that's why it's like it's super expensive. Like relatively, it's not that much, but it's very expensive per day. A Manhattan is an expensive place to stay, but also we did a lot of activities in that jam-packed weekend. Another Hawaii vacation. It's different than the one earlier in this video. but it is nice to see like the difference between them. Again, this was a flights, high-end hotels, and some Airbnbs as well. So a combination of both, and pretty awesome. This vacation to 6,600, which comes up to about 120 dollars per person. Of the vacation took in California. Everything's pretty cheap compared to the other vacations we've had. We just found it very interesting to see the differences. California is still an expensive place to visit and stay, but it is convenient. California vacation to about $180 per person per day. So half of New York, but more than a road trip slash RV vacation.
So our debt is currently zero. It took us a few good years to get to that. This was before we started tracking everything, so I can't show you the journey. I would say that it took us about 9 to 10 years to like pay off the house, and we didn't have student loans. Well, not too many student loans, so you know don't count that. And yeah, so we like it. We still have like a monthly credit card debt that we're rolling forward all the time, but we're paying it monthly, so we don't count that as part of our debt.